Hey there! This is a rambling video, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. It's been a long time since we've done a rambling bit.
It's been a long time. And we just got back from the movie theater, so we thought we would talk a little about what we saw. What did we see, John?
Oh, what did we see?
What did we see?
We saw it was Violent Night.
Violent Night!
It was very visual, very visceral.
Very violent. And it was at night.
It was, yeah.
The entire movie took place during one night.
Yeah, it was.
It was Christmas Eve.
So what was this movie about? What is Violent Night for people who may not have seen it?
Alright, so Violent Night is a movie about Santa Claus.
Ho, ho, ho.
Ho, ho, ho. Merry Christmas. And then there are some criminals that Santa Claus is not happy with. They're on his naughty list.
Oh, they were.
Alright, so basically we're just going to quickly go through a brief overview of the movie and some of the things that we like. And then we're going to go into spoiler zone. So if you don't want the movie to be spoiled, you can go ahead and cut out then.
Yeah.
Alright, so if you've seen the movie preview, then none of this stuff will be a spoiler. But Santa Claus,
He's real.
he takes no prisoners. He's real and he takes no prisoners.
Oh, there was some really great line. The music actually was pretty good in it, I would have to say.
I don't think that this is going to be a movie that is going to have any
Awards or whatnot.
I was going to say quotes.
Yeah.
Like, you can quote things from Die Hard and stuff, but I don't really think that there's anything from this movie that's going to become quotable. Which is unfortunate because this is a very funny, holiday action movie.
Yeah, it has a mixture of like Die Hard and Home Alone,
Oh yes, the Home Alone hints are very strong.
and like it's very actiony.
And Ashley kept saying that she thought it was like Bad Santa. I honestly have not seen Bad Santa. Wait? No, I did. I saw the first one once, long ago, but not the sequels. So, Santa Claus does stuff that is not very nice, but he does the not nice things to the naughty people because they're asking for it.
Well, they're also on the list.
They're on the list. They're on the naughty list. So, what else?
As I said, it was a really good. The CGI blood was actually really good. It wasn't like the standard CGI blood where it disappears after it hits the ground.
Yeah.
And it looked, all the violence in it looked really real.
I will say this about the blood. There was only one scene where I looked at it and I'm like, I guess blood could act that way, but it's probably CGI. Like, I don't know how much they use squibs in here, but I mean, the blood effects, they're there and they do stick around. So I mean, once something happens to someone, the blood is there. The CGI effects that they do use for the blood, just to establish the bleeding, is pretty good.
Let's see what else. There was there are some good slower heartwarming parts of the movie. Actually, believe it or not, for an action movie.
There are some. If you're gonna bring the family, there are some family moments.
Why would you be bringing your family to night?
I mean, for the same reason that, Deadpool was billed as like a Valentine's Day movie.
It was a Valentine's movie.
It did. The first one came out on Valentine's Day, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I took my fiance to it on Valentine's Day when it came out.
And the sequel was a family movie.
In a matter of speaking.
Same thing like the first.
Okay, so anyways, I think we've just about spoken enough about it. About spoilers.
Yeah.
So here we go. It is now spoiler zone.
the spoiler zone.
And we're going to start the spoiler zone with nothing that's a spoiler. So the movie stars David
Harper.
David Harper.
Harper, yeah.
David Harper. Okay, so like, oh, David Harper, who's that? So you know him as Officer Hopper from Stranger Things. He played Hellboy in the relaunched Hellboy that was pretty good, but did bad in theaters. He was the Red Guardian. In the Black Widow movie. So yeah, you know, I have never seen the guy before Stranger Things.
Yeah, that was probably the first time I saw him was in Stranger Things. And go, he's not a bad actor.
He's a good actor. Like honestly, when I saw him, he showed up on screen and he started speaking. I'm like, you know what? If Disney were to do like animated stuff for Star Wars with like the original cast characters, this is the guy that could do the voice of Han Solo. He sounds like Han Solo.
Like that cocky, like nerf herder sound?
Yeah, it's not just that. The guy kind of sounds like Harrison Ford. Like, that's what I'm saying.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, so anyway, so it stars him, and if you've seen the roles he plays like, you know, the rough and tumble type characters, and this is definitely a rough and tumble type Santa Claus.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So the movie starts out Christmas Eve in a pub in Britain, England,
Bristol, England.
Okay, Bristol, England. You know, I don't. You could throw a few consonants and vowels together, and I bet you that there's like some small township in in England, the country of England, that is called that. They have the weirdest names, but Bristol, that's something that is recognizable. He's in Bristol, England, in a pub, and he's drinking, and the bartender says, you know, are you going to be able to drive home? And he's like, I just kind of steer the reindeer and do most of the work.
And then they talk about how, why are you being a Santa?
You know, why are you being a Santa? And, you know, there's another guy who works as like a mall Santa there in the pub. And they're like, doing it for money. And then they're like, oh, seriously, we're doing it for the kids to make them happy and stuff. And then, like, Santa Claus, he's like, I don't even know why I'm doing it for anymore. It's just greed. Like, the kids, when they open the present, they have, like, this look in their eyes, and it's there for 3 seconds, and then it's just on to the next gift.
Yep.
And it's just nothing but, like money and commercialism. It's like everything that he gives out, it's either cash or video games or gift cards. Like, that's all he's pretty much giving out these days. And, yeah, basically, he's like, this might be my last Christmas. Like, so Santa Claus is like, the joy has left, and he's pretty much ready to hang up the hat and call it a life,
Yeah, to say, I'm done. Christmas is over.
So, and they think that, it's just some, like, jaded guy in a Santa Claus costume that's just tired. So then he's like, well, I think it's about time to hit the old dusty trail. Gets up, reaches into his bag, pulls out this gift wrap box, and he hands it to the bartender. He's like, here, give this to your grandson, save me a trip. And the bartender looks at the box and there's his grandson's name. And she's like, oh, hey, how do you know what my grandson's name is? And she looks up and he's going through a doorway that leads up to the roof. She's like, hey, you can't go up there. It's a liability. She goes up there. She can't find him anywhere. Then she looks up and she sees the fucking sleigh with the reindeer going flying through the sky.
You hear the holiday Christmas music.
Holiday Christmas music and the jingle bells. And she's like, oh my gosh, it's really real. Oh, he's real. And then he leans over the side. And the fucking barf. It goes all over her face. And that's how the movie starts. That sets the mood for the whole film.
Oh man, but then there's this rich family and this they're separate. This family who with their daughter, they're separated, going to visit the mother.
Yeah, it's your standard family on the rocks kind of thing. Like, oh, here's two people that used to be in love, but now there's something going on in their relationship. Yeah, that thing. The
only thing holding them together is the kid.
Yeah, the only thing holding together is the kid. So apparently, the dude is from this old money, rich family.
Ultra money.
And like, the woman, she's from, just, you know, a middle class family. She's just like an average Jane kind of person. So they're gonna go up and visit his family, and apparently he's been drawn into like the family business and the family drama, and everyone's bickering back and forth about who's gonna get the family money,
the inheritance of who's what.
Yeah, that kind of thing.
And they're like, oh, well, we're just gonna let you do it.
Yeah, so they show up at the house, and there's all kinds of guards in there, and then there's like a whole staff putting together like this little family Christmas party. And there's a few characters there that you know that they're gonna become the villains because of just how shady they look, So the cast shows up. Here's the family that's gonna bicker back and forth, and some guy comes walking up to the gate guard, blows him away, walks in there and pulls out like basically like a microphone. He's like, okay, so everyone sound off, we're go. Everyone calls out their code name, pulls out guns. They kill off the staff and the armed guards that are there, get the family, herd them into like the main living room, and because they're gonna get the money that's there. That's what they want. They are there for the money. Apparently, the family has a safe with how much money in it?
Like 300 million.
There's $300 million in this safe, and they managed to get everyone except for
who?
The little girl.
What?
The little girl that still believes in Santa Claus. And apparently her thing is that she used to go with her dad to see Santa Claus at the mall, but he just couldn't this year because he's busy with the family business. So in a desperate act to like make this up for his kid, he goes down to like the basement. He opens up this old cupboard that was full of all board games and stuff, and there's like a walkie-talkie there. He pulls it out, he throws it in a box, puts the wrapping paper on it, takes it up to the girl, and he says, okay, so we decided, you and your mom and I, that we were going to let you unwrap one present early. And she opens it up, and there's the walkie-talkie. He's like, what is it? He's like, oh, it's a walkie-talkie. It can let you talk to Santa. So you can tell Santa whatever it is that you want. And, he's really busy, so he might not be able to respond, but he is definitely listening. So the mom and dad, they go outside, and they're listening outside the door. She's like, oh, Santa, I've been a really good girl this year. I made this giant list of all these things I want, but you know what? I don't really want them. The only thing I want is for my mommy and daddy to make up and get back together. Aww. And you're like, oh, like you didn't know that was coming.
So anyway.
So anyways, then the crooks come in. They herd up everyone else, and the girl, she escapes. She gets up to the attic, and she's hiding up there. And apparently she's seen Home Alone, so she starts setting booby traps. Like, So anyways, the crooks, they need to get into the safe. And the old lady, she's going to make her way to the panic room. The crooks manage to stop her right before she gets to the panic room. But as soon as the panic room is activated, the combination on the safe downstairs is reset. So it's going to take a while to get in there. But apparently, the head crook, he's done his homework. He knows everything now.
He's also Luigi.
Yes, he's also Luigi, played by John
Leguizamo.
Yes, I can't pronounce his last name. I just call him Luigi for obvious reasons. Anyways, so why don't you take over the story?
So, meanwhile, before the crooks came in, Santa came and came down the chimney and started putting gifts down, doing his thing, and he's like, picks up cookies and stuff and drinks milk, and he's like, ugh, skin milk. And like, eventually he pulls out like a classic war bourbon or something.
It was 1936. He's like, ooh, pre-war, this is the good shit.
Pours it, starts drinking, sits in like a massage chair, falls asleep, and then the crooks attack, and like he wakes up and he's like, oh no, I gotta get out of this place. This is bad news. He's trying to bail out. Eventually one of the goons comes up and like he looks out the door, the guy sees him, and he's like, shuts the door, look out the window, and looks down at Santa Claus looks out the window and sees like this giant ice spike. And he's like, "Oh, I can't jump out the window."
Yeah, some like it was like this decoration that was obviously a giant ice spike. You know, like we know that's gonna come into play later on.
Yep, and then there's all of this, and then the guy comes in. He's like, "Who are you?" He's like, I'm Santa." He's like, "Well, you're going to be dead." And they get in a fist fight. It's brutal, and like him and the bad guy get thrown out of a window. The bad guy gets impaled on the spike. And he's like, ooh, I don't like this one bit.
Yeah, so apparently this is like Santa Claus has like magic that like lets him go up the chimney, but either because the Christmas spirit is low, or he was drunk, or whatever. Like the magic to get him up the chimney, back up to where the reindeer are, doesn't work.
Oh yeah, and his reindeer bail on him.
Yeah, the reindeer bail on him. Like the dude comes in there. He's got like he's got a semi-auto rifle, and so like he just starts emptying the clip as they're fighting for the gun. It goes to the roof. The reindeer gets spooked and they fly off. He's like, "You sons of bitches! You left me for dead!"
It's like, "You cowards!"
So then he goes in and he hides out in like some shack, right?
Yeah, it's like,
oh, wait a second. So the little girl's upstairs, and she has like the walkie-talkie. She's like, "Oh, Santa Claus, you have to come and help us." And meanwhile, Santa Claus like takes this walkie-talkie off of the dead dude because obviously all the other bad guys are talking to walkie-talkie. He wants to be able to monitor them. He gets into the shack and he starts going through the channels of the walkie-talkie, and he hears the little girl talk, and he's like, "Oh, great! Now I can't just leave. I gotta help the little girl."
Yeah, and then they're like, oh. Then there's a funny line of like, "Don't worry, Santa's gonna kick all of their," and the little girl caught all their assets. Like, let's keep it more PG.
He's like, "I'm gonna take a lump of coal and shove it right up there," and she goes, "Assholes." He's like, yeah, let's try and stay on the nice list." She goes like, "Buttholes?" And he's like, why don't we keep it a little more PG? She says, "Anuses." And he's like, okay, yeah, technically that's correct. So
that is the correct name. And then they're like, and then the bad guys are like, they find their dead dude. They're like, someone is here that they didn't know.
They check the security feed and they see some guy dressed up as Santa Claus, just like wandering around away from the dead body. They're like, okay, so there's some employee here at this holiday party that like we didn't account for. And apparently he took out one of our guys. We gotta find him and pack this loose in.
So they go up, they go from the security room up to where the hostages are, and they're like, who's Santa? And they're like, "We don't know who Santa is." "Well, okay, we're gonna torture you by using this nutcracker to break a finger."
Yep.
And they break a finger, and then they're like, since you people aren't still talking, we're gonna use the giant nutcracker to
crack some nuts.
And they're like, pull his dick out.
He's like, "I want to see some flattened nuts." Like, yeah, and they're like, "I don't want to touch this guy's junk. I don't want to do it." And this one guy says, "I'll do it." Goes over there and he's gonna pull the guy's dick out and stick it in the nutcracker, and that's when the
little girl's like, "Leave my dad alone. It was Santa."
Yeah, pretty much. They managed to find the girl,
and eventually,
so she's down there. So anyways, then we get back to Santa Claus. He has to sneak back. Santa's sneaking around. He's not sneaky enough. Another one of these crooks comes across him, and they get into a tussle. There's a whole bunch of back and forth, slicing with the knife and everything, but eventually Santa Claus grabs this electric light up star from off of like a Christmas tree and jams it in this guy's eye, and he's like, "Ooh!" And then Santa plugs it in, and then he falls down and
catches on fire.
And then catches on fire.
that was he's like, just looking at this guy with it, seeing his head catching on fire. He's like, "Oh, like the look of that just happened."
He's just waving the smoke away. So, anyways, they manage to catch Santa. They catch Santa.
Eventually.
They have him tied up. And they're like, "Okay, so who are you?" He's like, "Oh, I'm Santa Claus." "No, who are you really?" And he starts like like spouting off all these different names that for like that for Santa Claus in different languages throughout the ages and stuff. So, of course, naturally, they don't believe the guy. So they're like, oh, well, maybe there's a clue in this bag, and they pick up Santa's sack, and like he's like, let's see what's in here. They reach in, they pull out like a gift, like just some present. They're like, what is this? And the head guy grabs it, pulls the paper off it. A chess set? Why are you carrying around a chess set? Another guy reaches in, pulls out another box, and they wanted to have like a freaking pile of presents in here. And they're like, where did all this come from?
And like eventually Santa's like, well, just starts calling all the bad guys by their true names, not their code names.
They were using code names, so he just starts calling them by their real names because he knows who they are. Yeah, and it's a magic sack. He's like, it's a magic sack. You reach in, you pull out a present. I don't really know how it works. It's just magic. So
magic. I don't play shit.
Then the head bad guy grabs the sack, throws it in the fireplace. It catches on fire. And Santa wigs out.
This is also the part where he tells his tragic backstory of why he hates Christmas.
He's telling his tragic backstory, why he hates Christmas and everything. But eventually, Santa Claus manages to knock himself over onto the floor and then uses the magic to like go up the chimney when no one's looking.
Yep.
Where did he go? He went up the chimney. Are you kidding? He couldn't fit up there. Oh, it was Santa Claus magic. It's not really Santa.
It was a pulley system. Anyway, meanwhile, as all of this crazy stuff was going on, this strike team of like commandos are coming to rescue the old lady.
She's rich. She has basically armed mercenaries that I guess when the panic room like activates, like she's a client. It sends them a message. It says this client needs help. Yeah. So here comes like all these like guys with like they've got ARs, they've got grenades, freaking heavy machine guns with tripods and everything. They're packing. And
so behold about these guys. They're working with the bad guys too. Yeah, they're on the naughty list.
Yeah, there's the surprise. So Santa Claus has taken out like half of the crooks. And he thinks, okay, so I'm doing all right. Then, here comes the paramilitary guys. And he thinks, okay, things are going good now. So, here come the paramilitary guys. Out comes, our main bad guy. And he starts talking with the paramilitary leader guy. And turns out, they're in cahoots. He bought him out. So, now, there's a whole bunch of really heavily armed guys that Santa has to deal with. And then we get the Santa.
I know, Saint Nick was not the good guy.
Turns out Santa Claus wasn't always a good guy. We get a flashback to his previous life. He used to be this Viking warrior named Nicholas the Red. And he's wearing you see him with the Viking helmet. There's his blood just dripping all off him. And he has this massive warhammer called
the Skull Cracker.
The Skull Crusher. So we see that he used to be a super badass guy, and for some reason, he gained magical powers and decided to be a good guy. We don't know. We didn't get the rest of that backstory, but we did find out that he used to be
a
badass. So Santa Claus, he's hiding in the tool shed, and he's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. He talks to the little girl on the radio. She set all these booby traps in the attic, and
she gives him a pep talk.
She gives him the pep talk, and she's like, if there was one thing you could wish for, what would it be? And he's like, oh, I want to be able to see Mrs. Claus again. And she's like, well, then make your wish come true. And he looks up, and there's a freaking sledgehammer just leaning there against the wall, and he's like, okay, I can do this. He picks up the sledgehammer. The paramilitary guys rush into the tool shed, and all freaking hell breaks loose.
Oh man, people are getting their skulls crushed, knees broken, hands smashed. Two dudes get put into the automated snow shovelers.
Yeah.
And turn into pink mist.
Yep, they got blown out. The other end is in red chunks.
It was funny.
Oh yeah. That was the super visceral part right there, where he just like he cracks skulls and turns guys into beef stroganoff, and then like there's this one dude who's like set up with like he's got a laptop set up on this crate, and he's like trying to do some hacking stuff, and he looks up. This one guy gets thrown out. Santa Claus comes out, smashes his skull with the sledgehammer, looks up, and the guy's like, no! Turns around, runs away. Santa throws the sledgehammer, hits him in the back of the head. He's got a helmet on, so he's still alive. He falls down. Santa Claus comes over to him. Dude pulls out a grenade, pulls the pin. He's like, I don't think so. Grabs the grenade, shoves it down his pants, and he walks away. Then he's like, I have to watch. Turns around and sees the guy get blown up.
All Shady Sand Shuffle style.
He Shady Sand shuffled him.
Anyway, so they open up. Eventually the vault gets opened up. Surprise, surprise. Vault's empty.
The money's gone. There's like a few scattered bills and a bunch of empty boxes. And they're like, where's the money? So they go in there.
They go back upstairs.
They go back upstairs, and like the lady's like, "Oh, the money's supposed to be there," and they're about to go nuts on everyone to start killing stuff, and that's when like the son that was like the little girl's father. He's like, "Okay, I stole the money. All right, that was my big plan. I stole the money. I stashed it somewhere. I was gonna just come to this Christmas party." Kind of sort of say goodbye to people, disappear with the family, and never see anyone again. Like, that was the plan, okay? So, meanwhile, you've got two of these original crooks that are looking for the little girl because she's starting to create some trouble. So, they go upstairs, and they see, like, this ladder leading to the attic, and there's some really obvious Home Alone traps set up there, and they're like, a booby trap isn't a booby trap if you can see it.
Yeah, one guy starts climbing up the ladder, and then what they don't know is one of the rungs on the ladder is broken, so when he steps off, he falls down and like a nail goes through his neck. I was like, ooh, ooh.
Yeah, like there's a welcome mat set up there with like nails and drill bits and razor blades sticking out of it, and they're like, yeah, it's really obvious. They walk up to the ladder, they see a nail sticking out of it, they're like, yeah, right. The dude starts climbing, well, the rung breaks, right there, and his mouth is open, you can see it sticking up through his eye. He's like, ah! The lady climbs up over him, she's like, just stay here, I'll go get the girl. So then
they get upstairs, the other guy downstairs struggling to get off the fucking ladder, then the
girl has some stuff set up.
Starts attacking her with bowling balls that slide down, hit like a trampoline, bounce, and starts rolling over to her and hitting her.
Yeah, so this lady starts getting pummeled with the bowling balls. Some of the bowling balls fall down onto this dude who manages to free himself from the nail, gets hit with the bowling ball, falls back onto the welcome mat with all the razor blades sticking out of it. He starts screaming bloody murder. Meanwhile, this lady upstairs, she's going freaking nuts because she's getting pelted with bowling balls. Then, I guess they run out of bowling balls. The little girl runs over to a corner, and this dude, he manages to get up, pull all these,
nails,
all the nails and shit out of his butt, and he's holding one, and so like he's standing there holding it, just looking at it like that, and we're like, yeah, we know what's about to.
One of the bowling ball comes. Rolling, falls down, hits his hand holding this nail, and jams it in his brain.
Yep.
And he's like, and falls back onto the welcome mat.
Yep.
Meanwhile, upstairs, the other girl, the girl is getting pelted by shit.
The girl set up a glue trap, so the lady's stuck there. She falls backwards, then she manages to get up, and it rips out a bunch of her hair and some of her skin. You can see her bare skull there, so she's freaking out. She unzips her boots, gets out of them, coming after the girl. The girl has this slingshot thing. She slingshots a water balloon, and then a tennis ball, and then a freaking 50-pound dumbbell. But That's it. Like, the lady, she's like, oh, that's it. She pulls out a gun, and that's when Santa Claus shows up with the freaking sledgehammer.
Saves the little girl, and Santa's like, oh, I want you to cover your eyes, look away, and sing Jingle Bells.
Yep.
And she starts doing it, and Santa goes to town on her.
Yeah, he goes to town on the crook that was gonna shoot the girl.
It's like, why would you shoot a little girl? Blam!
And that was that for her. So she thanks Santa and is like, oh, well, I got you. You have to help save my family. He's like, yeah, no problem. I got this. She doesn't know Santa is all messed up. Santa is all messed up. He's gonna get the job done. Meanwhile, the girl's father that had stolen the money leads the crooks outside to where he stashed the money.
Over to this big manger.
Yeah, it's like a nativity scene. And he's stashed the duffel bags full of money behind hay bales and stuff. So the crooks managed to get the money onto their snowmobiles. Meanwhile, Santa goes downstairs. He takes out the rest of the crooks that are holding the family hostage, free them, and hands the gun to the girl's mother, who I guess she knew how to use a rifle because she'd gone hunting with her father in the past. So anyways, she goes out, she starts shooting at the bad guys. The bad guys start shooting back. The dudes with the money take off the snowmobiles, and Santa's like, well, I gotta go stop them. Goes after them. Eventually, there's this big showdown between the lead crook, and Santa.
Yep. And he's like, oh, it's gonna be good that I'll kill you. There'll be no more Christmas.
Yeah, no more Christmas without Santa. But it's a fight.
Oh, it was a brutal fight.
It was a brutal fight. So Santa has the sledgehammer. Our other dude has a collapsible baton and an ice pick. Like what?
Ice.
Yeah, an ice axe. He's got an ice axe.
Oh man, I liked how he defeated him. He gets a hold of him and does his magical spirit dust thing to pull the guy through it this busted up chimney, and just breaks him apart as he comes out of the chimney.
Yeah, so Santa, the crook has Santa dead to rights, and they're in the remains of an old house. I guess that it burned down, and the only thing that remained was the stone chimney. Well, Santa can go up chimneys, so he just grabs hold of the guy. He puts his finger on the side of his nose, which is how the magic works, and then he turns into dust, jerks the guy towards the chimney. Of course, the guy's too small to fit up the chimney. So he goes up through, and Santa reappears at the top of the chimney holding a torso with no arms or legs on it, or head.
It just broke to oh yeah, that was awesome.
And that is when he gets shot.
By one of the other, the private military guy. He's like, well, you're dead now, Santa Claus. I don't know. He's like, I don't know who you are, but you're dead anyway. The grandmother comes up and shoots him in the side of the head.
Boom. So he's dead.
And then the family eventually comes up to where Santa is, and he's like, Santa's just laying there. He's like, what? I get sucks to suck. I'm dying.
Yeah, he's like, oh man, it's really cold. It's been a long time since I felt this cold. And they're like, oh, we gotta get him close to the fire. Oh, the fires are going out. Oh, a snowmobile exploded. That's why there was some flames there. So the dad's like, oh, I know how to build the fire. He goes and grabs on the duffel bags full of money. His materialistic rich ass sister is like, no, don't. You don't have to burn the money. He's already dead anyways. They throw the money on the fire builds up, Santa dies. And then
eventually they're like, I believe in you, Santa.
Yeah, they did the whole, I believe in Santa Claus shtick, and Santa Claus wakes up. He's like, oh, it's like, oh, Santa, you're alive. Oh, well, it's Christmas magic. Like I said, I don't know how it works.
Eventually, the parents get together.
Yeah, the parents make up.
Be cool. Santa, his traitorous reindeers come back oh, there you guys are, you assholes.
He was threatening to cook him and everything. Then he looks in the sleigh, and they went home to get his spare magic present bag. And there's a note there from Mrs. Claus that says, I thought you might need this. And he reaches and he pulls out Skull Crusher, his old Warhammer.
Skull Crusher.
He's like, oh, you reindeer, you're really good. Okay, all right, I forgive you.
And then he gets on, says, "Oh no!" His name's all the reindeers.
Yeah, he keeps the typical Christmas thing. Like he hugs the little girl goodbye, and then he gets in the sleigh and flies away. You're on Dasher, on Dancer, on Come on Blitzen. You know the whole thing, and flies away. And that was pretty much it. That was the movie.
It was a good hour and a half movie.
Yeah, it was a typical theatrical one.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not.
I mean, like we're sort of glossing over it, but that's the main storyline. So, you know, if this sounds interesting, this might be a movie you want to see. Me, you know, you're not getting your typical feel-good Christmas movie that's just the same old schlock, boring as all hell. Like, you know, this is a funny as all hell, visceral holiday action movie.
Well, it does have some good family moments of like sentimental stuff, but it doesn't slow the story down at all. I think it actually was there pretty well.
Yeah. So you know, if you know, what we're saying is, you know, it's a holiday Christmas movie that isn't for little kids, but if you've got like a kid that's like, you know, teenage 13, 14, 15, something, they don't, and like they're gonna eye roll when, you know, they say, oh, we're gonna go and see a Christmas movie. You know, this is the kind of movie to take them to, so they're like, yeah, it actually wasn't that bad, you know?
Yeah.
But anyways, I think that's about all the time we have for. Anyways, this has been a Remington's Ramblings. I'm Steve.
And I'm John.
Check back again for future episodes. Signing out.